All right. Well, welcome everyone. We are so glad that you are here and joined us this month for our EdTech Chat. As you notice, I'm alone this month. We are doing a little solo thing here this month. My colleague Michael is traveling. He has just come back from a conference, and so I'll be on my own this month. I am going to queue up my presentation. Hopefully there it is. You can see it. So we're at the mid-year point, and so we thought this might be a good time to talk about a mid-year reboot. So whether you've headed out on or are heading into a period of summer break, or perhaps you're in the southern hemisphere and you are getting ready to have a kind of a fall break, this is always a good time at the midpoint of the year to sort of stop and take inventory and think about where you want to go next with things. Whether you work in education or you're in corporate training or some sort of L&D field, we all know that we can hit this point where we sort of hit a wall, feeling a little burnout, wondering what we can do next. And so we have some of our tips that we like to do. Michael and I sourced these together, ways that we used to kind of approach this time of year. So we're going to go through that. Then we're going to do a recap of what we looked at this past year so far and talk about a few other things. All right. So one of the things that Michael and I were talking about is the fact that we used to use summer as our inspiration. We both had come from a higher ed background, and working in higher ed, there was such a rush in that like end of semester May time. There's always this misconception that you had a lot of time off in December through the new year, and that wasn't the case. So it was really busy for most of the year. And at this point in the year, you finally had a little bit of quiet time to start to think a little bit. And so we always like to use summer as our inspiration for what we were going to do going forward. So, our first summer inspiration is growth. If you are in the southern hemisphere, the leaves are falling and the flowers are dying, but it's a good reminder that the leaves will return and the flowers will bloom, and we can grow our own food. This is the perfect time to sort of think about that and all of the growth that's going on around us, and take that time to grow our ideas and increase our exposure to new ideas. There are lots of ways to do that. Joining EdTech Chats is obviously one of them. Joining a course with us is another. But this is a good time to sort of get out there, connect with people, whether you're looking at one of the EdTech channels on Discord or you are following some EdTech folks on Twitter. This is a great time to start just kind of connecting with people and thinking about how you can grow some of those ideas you've been collecting throughout the year. Waves. Now, typically, when we hear about people making waves, it's never usually in a good context, but actually, waves shape the shore and they break rocks up, they help smooth sharp edges. And so, even though when people make waves, it can be difficult and making them ourselves may be difficult, this tends to result in some new and beautiful things. So, this is how we can sometimes exact some of that change. It's very easy to get stuck in a bit of a static pattern where we're sort of just doing the same thing day in and day out. But we like to combine, that sunshine makes people feel a little bit better. We see that in the northern hemisphere in summer. Great time to make some waves and actually get out there and start putting some of those ideas forward, or looking how you might be able to bring some new things in. So those are our two tips for how you can take some inspiration from the environment around you as you have hopefully a little bit of a break in terms of the amount of workload or different things happening around you, to think about how you might be able to bring in some new elements to your education or learning and development program, and think about ways that you might be able to grow or have a different perception of some of the waves and things, changes going on around you. Now, I mentioned we were going to do a bit of a mid-year recap, so let's take a look at that. All right, our first session that we did this year for EdTech Chats was the AI Chat GPT and Education session. Make sure that you go over to academy.openlms.net, where we have a complimentary course to supplement that webinar, where you can gain access to a lot of the different URLs and tools that we had referenced, as well as the recording of the webinar. Michael has put that course together, and you can absolutely go right to that Academy site. You will land on the landing page and click to view our courses. When you're in there, you're going to see this course. It will tell you that it's a complimentary, no-cost course. You're going to click to add it to your cart. You'll see it go up into the cart icon in the upper right-hand corner. And from there, you'll check out. You do have to go through the whole checkout process to get registered in that course. If you already have an account on our Academy site, you can actually just log in and you should see it right there as an option on the dashboard for something that you can enroll in. So do check that out. When we were introducing the topic of AI, Chat GPT, and education, we were just coming off of that mid-year break in higher ed, and Chat GPT was gaining a lot of ground, and we were hearing about it constantly, both in terms of how do we prevent students from using this to generate all their content, to how do we help students and learners use this and utilize this to their advantage. It's very interesting. Last night I was having a conversation with a former colleague who said that they had written their whole resume and just weren't totally satisfied with it. And they went over to Chat GPT and asked Chat GPT how to make certain things more concise. So even though we are, in this place where we're trying to balance the good versus the evil, it's important that we all learn how to use things like AI and Chat GPT. One of the other things we talked about in that webinar was that this is not a new phenomenon. AI is not new. We've actually been using it all along in things like anti-plagiarism tools, somewhat in learning analytics and anything that's sort of predictive. So it's not new. It's just sort of coming to the forefront with the rise of ChatGPT. So that was the first thing we talked about this year. And you can review that EdTech chat in the EdTech Chats course that's on the Academy site, and make sure you enroll in that complimentary AI course. The next thing we talked about were the emerging trends in EdTech in 2023. AI, obviously top of the list, but learning analytics is really making a comeback. Pre-COVID, learning analytics was gaining a lot of ground. During COVID, because people had to pivot so quickly, data kind of fell by the wayside, and that wasn't the main focus of things. But now that people are settled into a more patterned way to offer education and training online, now people are looking to be able to pull some of the data to continually improve those programs, track learner progress, and help promote success. So learning analytics is definitely one of the emerging trends coming back around in 2023, and we expect that we're going to see a lot with it in 2024. Blended learning models are also coming back into style again, meaning these are models where perhaps we have people doing some in-person learning and some online learning, but we're creating a blended learning environment. Previously, we kind of looked at things in terms of you were either on site or you were online. And now we recognize there is a nice atmosphere and purpose behind blended learning. So we can give people the best of both worlds there with blended learning and build in the kind of flexibility they're looking for with online learning, but the type of learning environment and connections they're looking for with the face-to-face bit. The next emerging trend we talked about this past year has been AR and VR for immersive learning. Recently, we have become a VR household. We got a VR headset here, and it's been really interesting to see how my children learn from the VR environment as they're playing different games. We have seen AR and VR really making strides and becoming much more used in things like health fields. So, like in nursing, when we're going in and we can assess a patient's room and assess a patient using VR or AR, we're seeing lots of cool anatomy and physiology tables where people can peel back the different layers of the body to expose what's going on inside a body. We're also seeing this in things like the trades. So, people are learning about electrical hazards by putting on a VR headset and walking into a situation where they can see and identify electrical hazards. AR and VR are going to become increasingly popular as we look for ways to give people the opportunity to practice the skills and competencies they're learning in the classroom, but where we don't necessarily have that ability to send them right out into the world for an internship or experiential learning. Those types of things are a little bit harder to come by these days as we start to kind of ramp back up and bring people on site for things. So AR and VR are definitely two really important features and emerging trends for 2023. The next thing we talked about was our favorite EdTech tools. And here we have 3 icons, and that represents a couple of different EdTech tools that we would bring together. When we talked about some of our favorite EdTech tools, we talked about some audio and video recording software, translation software, things like Canva, which we all here love to use Canva to create really interesting infographics and graphics and things for our courses, and even for some of our marketing material and things. We also talked about some of the different accessibility features that are out there. One of our favorite EdTech tools is Brickfield Education Labs Accessibility Toolkit. We also love Copy Leaks. Those are two of our favorite EdTech tools that we've been using here quite a bit at Open LMS. But there are many. And if you want to learn more about the EdTech tools that we like most, make sure that you join that EdTech Chats course over at Open LMS Academy, where you can watch that recording again. Next, we talked about strategies for learner engagement. So, this is the problem we're often trying to solve, which is we don't think the people in the course are engaged. And that's true whether we're face to face or we're online, though I think we feel that pain a little bit more online. We talked about the difference between engagement and presence, and that I could seem very engaged, looking at you, nodding, appearing to take notes if I'm in a face to face class. But in an online class, I might have my camera off. Actually, in the first instance where I'm looking at you and nodding, even though I appear engaged, I may not be at all. So, we talked about ways that we could drive engagement, but also drive that sense of presence where people feel like they are part of something when they're in the classroom. We gave some ideas for things like how to give feedback, how to set timelines and timeframes for things, how to promote working together in courses, and how to make sure that people understand that you're a person there behind that, that there's actually someone behind the curtain delivering that content, grading those items, checking in on learners, whether they're in higher ed or an L&D program. We usually have those elements in a lot of our training. But how do we create that environment, even if there isn't a facilitator, where people feel like they're a part of something? And so we gave some of our top strategies for promoting that type of engagement and presence in that EdTech chat. Now, one of the questions we get is, what if we want to talk to you or meet you out in person? You can absolutely meet us in person. Now, you might run into me on the street. Feel free to stop and say hi, but that's probably unlikely. So, if you are headed to any of these conferences in the next year, stop us and have an EdTech chat in person with us. The next conference we're going to be at is the Mountain Moot in Helena, Montana. That is July 19th through July 21st. I highly encourage everyone to check out the website for Mountain Moot. It is one of our favorite conferences that we go to present at and have attended before working here and since being here at Open LMS. We'll have a pretty large group there. There are some really great sessions. Michael will be there presenting on AI. I will be there presenting on some other things. Our team will be there presenting on competencies, but there are a lot of amazing sessions. So check that out. After that, in September, the 13th through 14th, we will be at LPI Learning Live in the UK. That's going to be held in London, England. So if you are Europe based or if you are going to be over at that conference, stop by and chat with us. We'll also be at EDUCAUSE in Chicago, October 9th through 12th. So stop by the booth, come see us, grab some swag, and have a chat with us. We're going to end up rounding out the year with the last two conferences. HR Tech is in Las Vegas at about the same time as EDUCAUSE, so conceivably you won't be at both. But if you are there at HR Tech and you want to talk a little bit about how to build an evergreen training program, something that's sustainable, how to promote a culture of learning within your organization, or something else EdTech related, make sure you swing by and chat with us there. And finally, one of the conferences we all look forward to each year is DevLearn, and that's also going to be in Las Vegas this year. And that will be October 25th through 27th. And we'll have a pretty large group there at DevLearn, and we just love to talk about this stuff. We truly are EdTech nerds. If you can see the back of my shirt, that's actually what it says on the back of my shirt, is that I'm an EdTech nerd. So stop by there. We would love to have some of these conversations face to face with you. I also want to add, I didn't put a slide for this one, but if there's a topic that you want us to talk about on EdTech Chats, or you'd like to collaborate and be a guest on an upcoming EdTech Chat, definitely reach out to Michael and I. We would love to talk more about topics that people would like to hear or opportunities for people to come and be a guest with us. You can reach us by emailing us. My email is amy.tessitore@openlms.net. And Michael's email is michael.vaughn@openlms.net. So if you have any ideas for upcoming EdTech Chats or would like to join us, please reach out to us. We'd love to chat with you. Michael, speaking of Michael, Michael is going to be a featured speaker at the AI and Learning Summit that we have coming up. He will be talking about the rise of AI and chat GPT in learning and development, as well as the opportunities and challenges associated with that. This is an excellent presentation. This will be given as a virtual conference June 20th through 22nd. And one of the cool things about this conference, this is one that we actually host. We have a lot of great speakers lined up for this. We also have a Discord channel that you can join and connect with us. So we are happy to send that information out as a follow up to this as well. But join us. The summit is completely free. There is a link right there that's just been posted for how you can go and register and get an opportunity to see Michael's session there, as well as sessions from some other experts in the field of teaching and learning, learning and development, and AI. All right. And hopefully you saw our announcement, but if you didn't, we are having our Connected conference February 27th through 29th, 2024 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Last year we were out in Phoenix, Arizona. This year we're going to take it back to the East Coast and be there in Charlotte. You'll be able to connect and engage with the most of the Open LMS team. Many of us will be there, as well as a wide range of different learning and development, education, and EdTech experts from all over the place. Last year, we had people from um, South America, Central America, North America, people from Pacific Islands, Japan, Europe, and many other places as well. So come and join us. Connect with us there at Connected. We would love to see you. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to us. Otherwise, if you scan that QR code, that will take you to a page with more information. This one here, this is you can join a course with us at Open LMS Academy, which is again academy.openlms.net. It's a great way to connect with us all year long. We have a number of complimentary courses, as well as some courses that are a paid opportunity where you can earn certificates and badges and things like that. But you can join a course, collaborate with us, view our EdTech chat recordings, as well as other resources that we like to put in there in the Academy to help everyone who's in the same position, people building content, trying to build programs, or just continuing to up their game in their existing programs. So that's what we have for this month. This is a shorter EdTech chat, more of a roundup and a recap of what we've done so far this year, as well as a reminder as you are heading into either the fall or the spring, depending on where you live. This is a good time at that half year mark to sort of take stock of what you've accomplished, what your goals were, and think of a couple new things you might bring forward in the second half of the year. And as always, we are always here if you are looking for people to bounce ideas off of, have questions, or just want to collaborate or even commiserate about the jobs that we do every day and what we're trying to accomplish. Thank you all so much for joining me this month. We will be back again next month with another EdTech chat. So make sure that you join us on the third Wednesday of each month for another EdTech chat. Thanks, everyone.